Hello everyone, this is Gayle, and I'm going to attempt to do a tutorial for you today. I have been sick, as you might be able to tell from the difference in my voice. I have had a severe sinus infection and I cough a lot, so if you don't want to hear me cough, maybe you don't want to watch this video. But I really felt a need to get back to my clay. So, excuse me. What I thought I would do, I was going, a couple weeks ago, I did a video on the tinypandora.com's Deep Shine Brush On UV Resin. And I was going through my old box of old pieces that I've done from the very first time I started working on polymer clay. There's junk that is in there. And some of you have said, I'd like to learn how to do some of that quote-unquote junk. So one of the things I brought out was this faux bone. Now this was kind of done in at one time I had some Egyptian hieroglyphic stamps. I don't have those anymore. I sold those years ago. But I did use them here. This, I think, is my name in Egyptian hieroglyphics. But the thing is, it is what is, it's faux bone. And I was looking at the sides. That's not a very good look on the side, but it's supposed to be faux bone. And you can see it there with no marks on it at all. It's a very fine grain. And I thought I would try to do some of that for you today, mainly because it's something I can do quickly. And if I start choking, I can go get a drink of water or whatever I need. But please be patient. I hope to be back to full speed before too long. But this thing has really taken a toll on me. I need equal parts of white and ecru to make a blend. And then you need twice as much translucent. Now, the translucent, the reason you need twice as much is when you put these two together and roll it out at your thickness, it's going to be about that big. And you want a piece of translucent that will be the same. So I'm going to turn the camera off and I'm going to go and I'm going to blend 1 part of white, and this is Primo white, and 1 part of ecru. And then I'll be back. Okay, I've got that blended pretty well. And I will tell you, this is rolled to a number 2 on my pasta machine, but I rolled this on a number 3 because I'm going to go a little bit thinner on these. So I'm going to go ahead and roll this on my number 3. There, just so we are on the same thickness, and that's what you want to do. You want the same thickness. Now, I've had some questions from people that don't have pasta machines and aren't quite ready to invest in a pasta machine on when I say number 1 or number 2 or number 3, what am I talking about? But on my pasta machine, I have a Mercado Atlas, and my pasta machine, 0 is the thickest and 9 is the thinnest. So when I say a number 3, it's like the 3rd thickest setting on a pasta machine. Well, you say, okay, if I don't have a pasta machine, how do I know what that is? And a few years ago, they came up with a method, because not only do different makes of pasta machines have different numbers for their scale, but also different makes of the pasta machine, or each machine, like if I had another Mercado Atlas, it would probably not measure exactly what this one does, because they're all different. It depends on how it's put together and the rollers and all that stuff. So a few years ago, they came up with a method that anyone could use, And let me go get my cards and I'll show you that. Okay, the method they came up with was playing cards. Playing cards are pretty standard throughout the industry. So you get a deck of playing cards, and let me see, this is a number 3, so that's going to be 5 cards. If you took 5 cards, let me see if I can move some of this out of the way so I can show you. I will do a separate video just on your pasta machine so that, you know, it would have something that you could look up, because this is going to be under the tutorial. But say you needed something that I said was number 3 on my pasta machine. Well, on my pasta machine, number 3 is 5 cards. So I've taken 5 cards. And you take 2 stacks of 5 cards. If you put, let me see if I can pull this piece of ecru off. If you put a piece of clay in between those and roll your roller over those 5 cards. Whoops. You can tell I don't do this very often. Like never. I've had a pasta machine since the very beginning. Now this clay is the same thickness as this clay. Even though I didn't use the pasta machine, I used 5 cards. So that is a way that you can figure out exactly what your pasta machine measures, if you have one, or if you don't, this is a good way to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'll do a separate video just on the playing card method of measuring clay, and that way you'll have something you can go back and find later. So right now I have a stack. This is the white and the ecru blended together. And of course, this is my translucent. And what I want to do is I want to put them together. And I'm going to be cutting it. So let me use my longer blade. I'm going to just cut it into a rectangle. Now I'm going to be using a, should have cleaned my blade off better. But let me see, where's my ruler? And I'm using a ruler because the translucent clay is ragged on the edge. I keep forgetting to look at my ruler to see if there's anything on it before I use it. And I will trim this off. So now we've got the translucent and the ecru and white blend that are the same size. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this in half. Let's see how long this is. This is almost 6.5 inches, so that would be like 3 1/4. So right about there, I'm going to cut it in half. I'm going to stack, and I'm putting the ecru side against the translucent side on my stack. And now I'm going to move this to the thickest setting of my pasta machine, which is 9 cards, and I'm going to run this through. So I don't think you can see that very well, but now I've got 1 layer of translucent and 1 layer of the ecru. So again, I'm going to measure this and cut it in half and stack it. And again, I'm keeping the ecru next to the translucent because you want to alternate your translucent and your ecru. And I'm going to roll this through the pasta machine on the thickest setting. So let me cut this in half and show you what we've got. We now have several thin layers of ecru. Matter of fact, we've got, let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 layers, and they're very thin. And if that's as thin as you want it, then you're okay. You can go ahead and start just stacking again. But this time you don't want to roll it through the pasta machine. You just want to cut it in half again. And stack it. And then you can cut it in half again. And stack it. And you can look at it here. Let me trim the end off. Actually, that's not very sharp. Of course, this one isn't either, but this one's a little bit stiffer. Let me just trim this end a little bit so it can be straight, so you can see what we're dealing with. So there is a thing, but if you look at this one is still a little bit thinner. So at this point, you can do a couple of things. You can stretch it, reduce it out, roll it with your roller because you want to keep it square. And I never did get that piece of green out of here that I should have. But this will make these layers a little bit thinner. And then you can cut it in half again. I don't know if you've noticed, in polymer clay there's a lot of cutting in half and putting back together. So that's probably about half right there. And then you can stack this, and you have a wider piece to work with. So again, you can look at it and see if that's as wide as you want it. I think this is going to be fine for my purposes. I am going to stretch it out a little bit. I think this green clay must be on my table because I keep picking up little pieces of green clay. I don't mind on the back side because that probably won't be used anyway. So that's a good width. I'm going to let this rest a little bit because the translucent is very sticky and this ecru is also very sticky. So I am going to pause this for a little bit and then I will be back. Okay, I'm back. And what I ended up doing is I put this in the refrigerator while I ate lunch. And then I put it on my Lucy slicer and sliced it because it was a fairly thin cane. I should have made it a little bit thicker, but I didn't think that far ahead. But anyway, I'm going to take the thickest one, and I'm going to use this for a pendant maybe. if you notice on mine, I cut mine, well, I didn't cut it. I let it be ragged on the edges. I didn't cut it before I started working on it, and it came ragged. Now this is a little bit ragged, but not quite as ragged as the other. But you can do a couple of things. You could take wire and embed in this. You could take another stamp. Matter of fact, I have it'll come to me in a minute. I'm thinking this one is thicker. I have a sand dollar stamp that might look a little like an antique. Let me go check out my stamp stash and see what I have that I want to use here. Just a minute. Okay, I found my sand dollar, but I don't think, I'm thinking it may be a little bit too wide for this. It's going to take it all the way to the edge. So what I think I'm going to do, since I did this one in Egyptian hieroglyphics, I found my Japanese stamp. Only thing is I don't know which way is up. I think this is probably up. And what I'm going to do, first I'm going to put it on a piece of paper so that it doesn't stick. And I'm going to put this towards the bottom. Well, actually, I think I'll go ahead and just stamp it sort of in the middle, because I may trim those ragged edges off. And I'm just going to stand up and push this stamp into the clay. And hopefully that went in enough. Oh yeah. So at this point we have a choice of whether to cut it off or to cut it into a shape. And I think I'm going to leave it the way it is. And I'm going to bake this, and then after it's baked, I'm going to antique it with some burnt umber acrylic paint. But first I'm going to just set it aside, and I'm going to take these other pieces. I'm just going to take this skewer, and I'm going to probably cut these in half. And I'm going to take some of the scrap clay, and it doesn't matter whether the translucent is in it or not, but I'm just going to take some of the scrap clay and let me roll this out thin. And this is just another suggestion of a way you can use the faux bone. And I'm going to go ahead and cut these even just because I want to. And I'm going to wrap this. Actually, that was on a number 1, but that's okay. On a 0 even, it was the thickest setting. But I'm going to just trim it off. And I'm going to roll this out on my skewer. Make sure it's moving around. And then I'm going to take some of this cane and I'm going to wrap this so that it looks like it's a faux bone piece of clay. And this has gotten cold. It's still cold, I guess, from being in the fridge. I'm going to cut this at an angle. And roll this to get rid of the seam. Then you can take your blade and cut off the ends that did not get covered. Just take it and roll it and pull it off. And then what you can do is maybe you can take the back of your blade, you can take a toothpick. Matter of fact, I think I will use my ruler. Make sure that it's clean. And I'm going to just make some marks. And that's going to get covered up. There's even some cracks in it. See the cracks? But I'm going to leave those cracks. Just going to make sure the bead itself has integrity. But that's going to give it an old look. So that's one way you can do a tube bead. And you can do several of these. You can go back, gather up your scrap again. Told you I love to use scrap. Let me get some of this. I'm going to roll this into just a bead. And see if I can find some thin slices that I cut off. This is pretty thin. And just kind of wrap your bead in the thin slice. And when you have a flat piece like this, or even a round piece, you may need to pinch at the top. See how I pinched it? And what that's going to do is give me some space that I need to cut off. And let's see, I've got some more little thin pieces here, which I'll fill in this little spot here that didn't get covered before. And just slice off those little places where you pinched. And then take that and roll it smooth. Roll it in right in the center of your palm in one direction, and then go in the other direction, and it will help it stay round. And there's a round bead, and I would do the same thing with this. Maybe in the places where it came together, just put some marks in it. And you can put this on a bead pin. If you have any bead pins, you can pierce it with a needle tool, which I will probably do. Let's see, I think I'll pierce it right there. Go straight down till you feel it hit your tile. Then turn it over, except it didn't leave a mark. You want it to at least leave a little bit of a mark where the tip comes through, so you'll know where to go through from the other side, and now you'll have a clean hole. So there's a round bead. And I think this would be too big to fit on here, but I'm going to put it on here anyway. Just have to make the hole a little bit bigger. But there we have a round bead. So you can do all different kinds of beads. Got some clay on that. I'll just put another mark and it'll be covered up with brown paint. But those are the three things I'm going to bake. I have my flat piece, and I think I've got to think about how I'm going to cut it or hang it. And I think I'm going to get my tiny little Kemper cutter and cut a hole right there. Then I'll probably hang it with some kind of brown twine, or I don't think I have any brown rubber, or even leather. A piece of leather would look pretty with this hanging from it. So I will be back after everything's baked and we'll antique it and see what it looks like. Okay, my pieces are out of the oven, and I'm just going to twist them to get them off of the wood, except I don't have any grip yet. There we go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some brown acrylic paint, and this is burnt umber. You can use any kind of acrylic paint and any color, but I just thought I would use this color. And I'm just going to put down a piece of paper to put this on so it won't mess up my desk but so much. I think I'm needing some more. This is the one I use the most. I like a dark brown as opposed to a black. There we go. So I might need to get some more. But I'm going to take my brush. Don't need a lot of water on it. And I'm going to coat my piece with the brown paint and make sure it gets down into all those little grooves. And hopefully this will give it the aged look that I'm looking for. So that it looks like old bone, something that might have been made by somebody many years ago. I'm also going to come down the edges since that will show. And I'm going to wipe it off with a dry paper towel. And there you go. There's an ancient Japanese document of some kind written on bone. Isn't that kind of cool looking? Let me show you these others since I put the distress in the others. We'll do the same thing. We'll just cover them with paint. Now you have to, if you don't want to get it on your hands, you need to wear gloves, but I kind of enjoy the messiness. But make sure it gets down in all those little cracks that you put in there with the edge of your ruler or whatever you used. And there's an ancient bone bead. Can you see the little crevice in it? And I'll do the same thing with the tube bead. I have to confess, I went in to sit down and eat lunch after, well, when I put this in the oven, and next thing I knew, I had fallen asleep in my chair for about an hour. I've been that way ever since I've been sick. I just can't seem to stay awake. Let me get these ends so they don't look silly. And then just wipe it off with your dry paper towel. And it leaves the brown just down in the recesses. And look at that. Does that look like aged bone? I just love it. But there's so many things you can do. You can turn them into, you can make several little beads and string them together in a necklace. Let me, since I'm getting low on paint, I think I'm going to try to get some of this back in here. Well, you could use it as a statement pendant, just with the one thing. Let me, once I get this up, save some of that paint since I'm getting kind of low. But let me see. I thought I had some brown leather, but I don't. All my leather is either rubber or black. And this is like a suede. But what I would do, of course, I think I would, well, I don't know, you could probably use the black. I would put this through from the back, put the loop through, and then pull these loops through it. You know how to do this. I'm fumbling with it because I'm trying to keep it so you can see what I'm doing. And then just pull it. And then you can, you know, fasten it however you wanted to fasten it. You could put a bead on it to use as a clasp. That's some things I guess I need to do with y'all, is to show you some of the things that I've done to use as clasps. Of course, you could just tie it in a knot, which is what I'm going to do for the time being. But there, isn't that pretty? That would look really pretty as a necklace. So I hope you like that, and I hope you take a turn at making some faux bone or faux ivory, whatever you want this to be called. And even the little beads, they're kind of interesting. This would probably be interesting if I had a tiny bead, maybe about 1/4 of an inch wide, and then a series of these beads coming up the side. That would be kind of neat looking. But I'm a simple person. I like the simple things. But there you go. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you will come back again. Hopefully I will get my strength back soon. Excuse me, and I'll be able to do a little bit more, but this is about all I can handle for today. So thanks so much for watching, and I will be back again on Friday with the Friday Frolics video, and again next Monday with another polymer clay video. So have a great day. Bye-bye.